Good afternoon, everyone. This is Nacho Santos reporting on the devastating earthquake that happened on yesterday. We had a magnitude 6 earthquake, and today we will be dedicating our show on the one-on-one on earthquakes, on how they work, how they process, how they can be prevented, and what long-term solutions remain for us. As we all know, the Philippines is undeniably susceptible to these natural disasters. Being a country in the Pacific Ring of Fire, the Philippines is susceptible and at risk to many earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. This is why it's so important for us to know the one-on-one on what earthquakes are, and because these leave economic, social, political, and environmental impacts on our country. First and foremost, what are earthquakes? Instead of imagining the Earth as a giant rock floating about in space, think of it as a round egg, with cracks all around it. The chunks of shell material represent the tectonic plates of Earth, while the cracks represent the fault lines of Earth. These plates are in constant contact with each other. Once the pressure between them becomes too large to be contained, they move, and in turn cause the surrounding water and land to shake. In turn, these low-frequency waves generated by the sudden movement of plates through the ground and in turn affect structures such as bridges, buildings, and roads. And with that, we have a reporter who is an expert. He is in Marikina right now. Jaime de Guzman, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Nacho. I am reporting live here from Marikina, and I want to talk about how earthquakes can affect buildings and infrastructures when the plates move. So, depending on the intensity, the buildings either develop cracks or, in worst case scenarios, fall over. Ground motion, however, does not damage a building by impact, similar to a wrecking ball, or externally applied pressure like wind. It is more of damage through internally generated inertial forces caused by the vibration of the building's mass. Here we are standing in the Marikina fault line, overlooking the Marikina Valley from the Ateneo School of Theology. What can be noticed is the difference in height of the Ateneo versus the Marikina Valley, or the city of Marikina down below. It was very much likely that when the fault moved, there was a difference in between the two sides of land. For a structure to resist these massive forces, here are 5 tips when building the structure in the first place. First, make sure there is vertical and lateral stiffness and strength. This is because during an earthquake, the building may have a tendency to shift left to right. Another tip is safety professionals need to build the building equally in order for the energy to dissipate equally. Third, make sure there are measures of redundancy so that there are multiple strategies and options in place in case one fails. 4. Make sure buildings have a good and deep foundation so that when they're connected during an earthquake, they move as a unit in order to dissipate the energy equally again. 5. Build earthquake-resistant buildings. Since an earthquake is a very major natural disaster, building earthquake-resistant buildings can also battle against other natural disasters as well. Okay, that's all for today. Back to you, Nacho.
Thank you, Jaime de Guzman. Well, audience, now you may be thinking, given all this information, what can you do in your own homes or by yourself as a means of precaution towards an earthquake? Well, we have the duct cover and hold process. The duct cover and hold process is simple. It's a 3-step process where you find any sturdy object, such as a table, and you go under it as a means of protection, covering your head and, if possible, your whole body. And this may lead to a great decrease in the risk of dying or getting injured. Secondly, a useful item to have on hand is a whistle. A whistle can be used to alert someone of your location when you're stuck under fallen debris. And this will save time and energy on your part because you'll be, instead of screaming, you can use the whistle to call attention. With all these prevention techniques in mind, now we have Jigger Enriquez to talk about these long-term solutions that can help us towards earthquakes.
Thank you, Nacho. The question right now is if the Philippines is ready for the big one. Collectively speaking, it wouldn't be safe to assume that Metro Manila and its surrounding regions would be ready for an earthquake with approximately a magnitude of 8.5. The readiness of the Filipinos depend not solely on the government's efforts in fortifying structures, but rather on the preparation of each individual family. Simply being educated on how to react during an earthquake will determine if you will be spared or not. In addition, bringing handy gadgets like small flashlights and whistles would also be of great help. Stocking of food can also help us prepare for the possible crisis that will happen after the earthquake. After the natural disaster, there's a possibility that stores and groceries would be closed. What are your thoughts on this, Nacho?
Oh, thanks so much, Jigger. Sorry, it's kind of choppy. There's a lot of interference, but what are my thoughts? Well, we've already discussed what to do during the earthquake, but I think the real question is, what now? Is there anything we can do to further reduce the risk of these casualties? Well, from what we've learned, it seems that the most appropriate way of action has something to do with the structures that people live in. Well, both high-rise and low-rise buildings are at risk during an earthquake. Neither of these are really earthquake-proof, as they have their own weaknesses. But what would be a good measure for both situations is to constantly inspect the integrity of the structure. Watching out for cracks is a good measure to reduce larger damage when the earthquake occurs.
Alright, thank you, Nacho.
Thank you so much, Jigger and Lucas. And thank you so much, audience. That is all for now. See you next time.